Welcome to the Gridiron Unfiltered podcast, powered by Recon Sports, the show where we take a deep dive into the world of sports performance. I'm your host, Danny Davis, and today we're taking a deep look into the future of health and longevity. Our guest is the founder of Through Fire Wellness Solutions, where he's been pioneering an approach called health profiling. It's a system that brings together genetics, hormones, nutrition, workouts, really everything that encompasses health and performance. His mission is laser-focused on reinventing what preventative care looks like. Tripp Parks, welcome to the show.
Hey, man, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. So let's start here. What exactly is genetic testing? It feels like a relatively new space, and to me, it's really fascinating and it sounds very helpful, but I don't think I've ever really been given a clear rundown of what it actually is or how it's different from just the blood work that I do twice a year. Can you tell the fans a little bit about what genetic testing is and what it looks like?
Yeah, sure. So genetic testing at its basis is looking at what our building blocks are, our blueprints. And we get 50% from our mom, 50% from our dad, and there's a combination of things going on with those. What's cool is everything that we have, like our eye color, our height, our ability to build muscle, lose fat, is all determined by these indicators, or what we call alleles. And every allele is either favorable, unfavorable, and they affect us positively or negatively. And based off this information about how we're built by our DNA, we can cross-reference things like your blood work and find out what's going on in the body. For example, vitamin D deficiency is a common unfavorable gene for Caucasian people. So we look at your DNA, how you metabolize vitamin D, as well as your risk for things like skin cancer. If you have high risk for skin cancer, we're actually going to advise you to eat more vitamin D rich foods and supplement with vitamin D supplements. So DNA gives us a much deeper look into who you are, what's going to happen in the future, and gives us a much stronger building block for wellness programs.
Interesting. I think for a lot of people, even if they do know or don't know what it is, just having maybe the results doesn't feel very actionable. You look at something maybe like 10X Health, it gives you insights, but their conclusion of their genetics test is buy their supplements. And I didn't really need to take the test for you to tell me to buy your supplements. So I think where you bring in this unique approach is actually having actionable steps after the results of your genetic test. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that looks like?
Yeah, the big problem with genetic testing by itself, whether it's a spit test, blood work, hair, however you do it, is it's kind of a novelty without other quantitative information. So like I told you with the vitamin D example, if I don't see through your blood work that you have low vitamin D, let's say even if you do take vitamin D and I'm finding through your genetics that you have low metabolism, then I can find out your DNA is active, right? That indicator is definitely on, and that way we can figure out how to supplement or figure a way around a favorable, unfavorable gene. So by itself, it's a novelty. So when we introduce other things like biomechanical assessments, hormones, we can really fine-tune these wellness programs. So they've been around for a while. Genetic testing, I've been doing it since 2016, but the information hasn't been very usable, right? And we still only know about 4% of the whole human genome, and we could do a lot with that. Don't get me wrong, but it's still a relatively new field.
Now, if you have your gene test and you have your blood work, what is it like? What insights can I get from having these two data sets now that maybe I wouldn't get with just one or the other?
I'm sorry, can you say that again
like
for a second?
Having both of these data sets, if I do my blood work twice a year and now I also have my gene testing, like having both of those pieces of information and now you take them and look at them, like what are having those two sets of information allow you to kind of take their health and wellness to the next level?
So for us, it's about really fine-tuning individual programs, right? For blood work and hormones, a lot of people have sleep issues, sleep latency, quality. We can find all that through the blood work or find it through the genetic testing. And then we cross-reference things like blood work. Let's say you got high cortisol. Maybe you're genetically predisposed for high cortisol. So natural things like ashwagandha, getting yourself on a good sleep regimen. We can find a slew of things, right? Things like we mix our biomechanical assessment, like how our body works. We can even find out things like injury risk and prevention. There's certain alleles that directly correlate with ACL ruptures, Achilles ruptures, shoulder sprains. So what we can do with that information is we can build preventive programs against that. Hey, listen, we know you got a weak knee, so we're going to bring you in and strengthen it or take your weakness and turn it to a strength. So what it does, it helps us really individualize programs at a much deeper level than just blood work or just a movement screening, because we can find out things that are preventively going to happen, right? Based off of our genetics, which is our blueprint, as well as our epigenetics, which is our environmental factors, right? So let's say someone plays football for 10 years and has a high predisposition for tons of injuries and they're riddled with them. Well, all right, well, we know what's going on now, but what's probably going to happen in the future? Hey, listen, they got a bad gait, all these different things. So it just gives us a much deeper look at the individual and how to prepare a full-blown wellness program. And the reason that's really important is because everything's affected by each thing, right? If my sleep sucks, my workouts suck. My diet sucks. My regimen sucks. And vice versa. If my workout sucks, my mentality sucks. These are all correlated, and people aren't putting them together as a full spectrum of health, right? They're just picking and choosing, oh, I'm going to start a workout, and that's awesome. But you're leaving 90% of your wellness, right? No one's getting on a sleep regimen while they're doing while they're doing workouts. They're not adding diet too. All these things impact our health and what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, having all of the data, whether it's blood work, gene testing, is very valuable. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a strong foundation of just normal lifestyle choices, nutrition, sleep, it almost reminds me when I was in the Army and on post, they have a lot of commissaries or gas stations, and it was almost routine for the soldiers, myself included, to stop at the gas station, grab a Monster, grab a protein bar, a snack, and it was just on the daily, maybe during lunch. And that compounded over years on top of high stress environment, low sleep, just those actions alone are just going to compound and to have negative long-term health effects. Is there anything that you've seen that people could just change or tweak just slightly in their daily routine to really maximize their long-term health and longevity?
Oh, in every single form of facet. What's cool with this genetic testing program is you're going to find out through every spectrum of health and wellness how to improve. And there'll be small things you can do. For example, there's a genetic allele called RS12678919, right? And this directly correlates with Northern Caucasians from Europe that says they have a hard time burning fat doing cardio, right? So an immediate flip that I can make for that person from a personal training standpoint is hey, circuit-based training and resistance training is going to be our best benefit for us to eat the fat and build muscle for you long-term. So little things like that, as well as supplementation. I mean, I worked in supplements for 8 years, and I don't know if I recommended the right supplements because I didn't have the right data. Finding out how much vitamin D you need, how much vitamin A you need, where you're getting these minerals from as well. We talked about skin cancer risk. I don't want to throw someone who needs vitamin D out in the sun if they've got, basal cell skin cancer risk at 100%. So we can fine tune a ton of these little things. If someone does have basal cell skin cancer risk, we can get them set up with the doctor right away, as well as they at least they're conscious, hey, I shouldn't be in the sun. So a lot of these programs, what I'm finding, and I think getting to your answer is making people conscious of these things, right? Hey, I shouldn't be slamming these monsters. I've got terrible sleep latency and quality, so I need to, how can I maximize that? And these programs are constantly growing. The app we use through Gene Planet, they do whole genome sequencing. So we could figure out things in real time. So the Mayo Clinic finds out your propensity for sugar, right? Hey, listen, I've got a terrible effect for sugar. At least you're conscious of it now. For the stage that we're at with genetics, it's about educating, right? And showing people how all these work together, because again, it's so new. So there's a ton of little things that, again, I think the consciousness of figuring out what's going on makes the world a difference.
Big time. You and I were having an interesting conversation about caffeine the other day. And like I said, I was one of those monster people. I can easily drink half a full pot of coffee on the daily. And it doesn't feel right, to be honest with you. It doesn't feel healthy. And sometimes I just almost feel gassed. Can you talk to us about the effects of high levels of caffeine, or having that be a strong staple in your productivity on a daily basis?
Well, from a science standpoint, I've never had someone's genetic test come back and anyone have that favorable gene for caffeine. So it doesn't matter your race or where you're from. I'm not seeing anyone at all with a favorable caffeine gene. So what that does is, if let's say you have unfavorable caffeine tolerance, caffeine metabolism, you can expect the half-life to go up. You can expect the negative side effects from caffeine to go up. It'll affect your sleep. It's going to affect your focus. And the problem is it's just like any other drug, right? You start having a little bit here, it's like, oh, I need another one today because I'm having a really bad day. But then that next day, it takes 2 to get to where you're at, right? So we're developing tolerance and dependence on something that's already not favorable for our blueprints, our makeup. So people that are slamming caffeine, those kind of things, especially energy drinks, they're wrecking everything. That's a huge reason. Cortisol's going up, sleep's going down, and without sleep, we can't properly recover. That's where all the magic happens. That's where everything happens is during sleep. And as a society, we're not getting a lot of that, and we're replacing with caffeine. And what people don't realize with caffeine too is it doesn't actually give you energy, right? What it does is it gives you the absence of feeling tired. Right. So that's another conception that people need to understand is it just letting that tired muscle in your head die down a little bit. It's not actually giving you energy.
Yeah, you talk about the sleep aspect. I was diagnosed with sleep apnea a couple of years ago. So I've been, going through the process of that. And I don't know if it's just my algorithms now. But now I see just sleep apnea across the board. Is there I found it's like people with bigger necks and bigger, like maybe smaller jaws, or is there a spike in it? Is it just being shown now? Is there why do we even have sleep apnea in the first place?
Oh my gosh, you're just getting me onto like the best rabbit hole ever. But this, all right. So there's a book by, I forget, James, someone called Breathe, and he's talking about our jaw lines descending, right? A lot of us are getting muscle around our neck. Wisdom teeth are being pulled at an all-time high. Everything's changing because we're eating softer foods at a really, really simply put, we're not eating hard foods anymore, like apples, and we're not eating raw foods anymore. And as we develop our jaw, especially for kids, it's important to eat these hard foods to develop, muscles around the jaws, function of the tongue, all these different types of things. And we're just eating, soft foods where it's, burgers are soft, fries are soft. I mean, we don't eat anything hard anymore. We don't work out our jaws, right? So a lot of it is, I think, like almost atrophy of the muscles that we need. One big thing to cure that I've been doing is taping my mouth shut at night. Our mouth is actually a secondary source for where we should be breathing. If we actually look at the nose, right, especially the sinuses, where the air goes through our nose all the way through the sinuses is back into our neck, it's the best purification system that's ever been designed, right? And we are never using it. We don't know. We don't learn how to stand up. We don't learn how to sit down. We don't learn how to breathe, right? And we don't learn how to walk. These are all inherent things that we just pick up as we age, and there's a right and wrong way to do all of them, right? So if we train ourselves to keep our mouth shut and breathe through our nose, it goes to a almost perfect purification system, getting out impurities, all those different types of things. It also helps warm the air up going into our lungs, which helps absorb the air, right? And what happens is when we breathe through our mouth, we lose a lot of moisture, right? So we're seeing a spike in dehydration, right? All the way through the board. So I can't get enough water, all these different kind of things. Well, we got to start using what God gave us, a perfect purification system, and we have to work out our jaws. And how we do that is eating raw foods, which we should be doing anyway. That's simply put. I mean, even the book that I forget what it's called, Breathe, but he's talked about how they didn't have pacifiers back in the day. So like our ancestors used to like give the kids like twigs and stuff to chew on, right? And they didn't have any wisdom teeth problem. They almost had perfect teeth all the time.
Yeah, that's another one that just shocks me is like teeth. You look at some indigenous, like current day indigenous populations, like they don't have American teeth like we do. And it's like, they don't need braces. They didn't get braces having teeth like that there. It's like, why do we need our molars pulled? Like, it doesn't make any like evolutionary sense for it to be like that.
It's actually de-evolutionary, right? Like it's the complete opposite way we should go. Now, like you take it like on the hard end, like extremist. I'm a big anti-extremist when it comes to like fitness. Like you take like Liver King, he's like ancestral everything. And like, there's a lot of things from that are great. Absolutely wonderful. Things like working out our jaw at an early age, eating raw foods, like that's absolutely great. But we also got to think, there's some Western medicine too we need. It's about this combination of things together and trying to find a good balance. We have all these, health issues across the board. The VAs, we talked about this a little bit. The VA's full of people that are sick and hurt. Hospitals are full of people that are sick and hurt. and it's a downstream problem. And the only really way to fix it is upstream solution with preventing these kind of things in the future. So we have to figure out like ancestrally, scientifically, how this thing works.
Yeah, it's too bad that when you say like ancestral tenets, I think if you're on social media, your mind goes to the Liver King and it's just like maybe a negative. That's one of the downfalls of social media. But, you and I were having a great conversation about like ancestral tenets versus like how our ancestors really lived versus how we're living now. Burgers, fries, caffeine, energy drinks. Like, and it was a lot happened in a short amount of time. Like, what's one of the biggest things that you've seen, or like one of the biggest things that shocks you when you look at how different it is today versus just 200 years ago? Not even.
Oh man, it's the big thing for me, like, is people griping about taste. And my thing is, everyone's like, oh, well, my food, it tastes good. And I'm like, man, your great grandparents were happy with salted pork 3 times a day, like super happy with it because they had like a full belly. We've gotten to just a super complacent place where we think that food should taste good and has to taste good and has to meet all these crazy needs, when even 200 years ago, our ancestors would be happy to have a full meal, So thinking like back to then, it was survival. And I really think we've got to put ourselves kind of back in that space in our head, because it is survival right now. We have Alzheimer's at an all-time high, dementia at an all-time high, injuries are rampant, diabetes is rampant, right? And a lot of it is because our food choices. There's not a lot of raw foods. We're not cooking ourselves. We're throwing sugar in everything. And that wasn't happening 200 years ago. This is like recently, in the past 60, 80 years, that we've seen things like Philip Morris and other cigarette companies buy like Nabisco and Kraft. I buy into those things and try to alter labels. It's
you want to go down a rabbit hole at night, go down that rabbit hole.
Oh my gosh. And no one cares. That's the big thing and no one cares about any of this. And it's happened in such a short amount of time, and everyone's sick and they're like, I don't know what's going on. It's like, well, it's
crazy.
So yeah, for me, the past 200 years, it's just that whole taste thing. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. The taste thing and eating to your full, and like, you shouldn't be eating to your full, but it's hard not to when you're eating foods that taste really good.
That starts that hell loop, right? Oh, I'll just have one more bite. I'll just have one more bite of this. And like, we're filling up our plates. And like, for everyone listening, if they want to start it with a really, really simple mind to eating technique to slow down eating, start eating off smaller plates, right? Start with a smaller plate, fill it up as much as you want, but you're still eating less than you were before, but you're still going to have that same sensation because we think that we're full once the plate's done and we need to finish. So even try small plates. I mean, just little things like that.
Yeah, I think a big thing too with the food is we're almost very emotionally attached to it. Like, it could be, if we're stressed, we want to go eat comfort food, or now we're having like a family get together or a party or a celebration. It's like, now I get to eat and indulge. Or it's like, even that wasn't really a thing 100 years ago because they didn't have the option to. Like, there was no just go down and hit the McDonald's or just go down and hit the Chinese buffet. That wasn't a thing.
No, not at all. And that you bring up a really great point too, to add to the taste is portion size, right? Like, our portion sizes are out of freaking control. And this is America's problem, Canada's problem, Europe's problem, mostly our problem. But I mean, our portion sizes are out of control. And we really have to hold these companies accountable for these different types of things, because they're even putting chemicals in to make us hungry, like MSG and the different. I mean, it's happening right in front of us, and again, no one is batting an eye and cares. When we have fentanyl issues, when the biggest abused drug in the United States is food.
Before we jump back into the show, a quick shout out to one of our proud sponsors, Gardner Roofing. If you're looking for a roofer you can trust, Gardner Roofing has been Colorado's go-to team since 1998. They're family owned, built on integrity, and they treat every roof like it's their own. Whether it's repairs, a full replacement, or just a free inspection, Gardner Roofing is the name Colorado trusts. Check them out at gardnerroofs.com or give them a call at 303-332-6224. Gardner Roofing, their family has your family covered. One of the things that you were telling me the other day that really kind of shocked me was when you started getting into your business now and trying to sell genetic tests and your services, you were kind of primarily focused on younger generations, who what you found was people in senior living were the majority of your clients because, one, they're kind of on their last leg and they want to maybe extend their life or knowledge or about their body, or they're buying it for family members who are younger. So there's this paradox of not you being in the same shoes as I am. Can you talk a little bit about what the experience has been like?
Baffling. I mean, like 100% baffling, man. I got into this because we have a huge issue with youth sports and lack of participation, and a lot of it's because of injury and people picking one sport, overdoing it. And I was like, I'm gonna get in there, show these kids and youngsters, what the right way to do it. And come to find out, it was the parents of the kids that wanted these tests done the most, because they were putting loved ones into senior communities and watching their heroes fall apart in front of them from things like dementia, Alzheimer's, cancer, metabolic disease. So it really kind of opened my eyes a lot to where every generation is with their health and wellness goals. We're seeing the last generation be like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to wind up like this. What can I do? And they're in a panic mode, right? And I think at least our generation is a little more savvy with, hey, we're taking better care of ourselves. We're drinking a lot less, like 50% less than other generations. Like we're doing a lot better with those kind of things. For me, it's baffling to see how each generation has taken this new idea of preventive care approach. I thought it was going to be, younger generation with those kind of things, but I was completely flip-flopped and had to change my business model.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah, that is baffling, but it's almost like it kind of makes sense when you look at it, because when you're younger, you feel like you got a lot of time. But now once Father Time starts winding down, it's like, I need to do something or help the ones I love not be in the same spot.
It's crazy, man. Because everyone has like short-term memory with these kind of things. It's like, oh, well, grandpa had a heart attack 10 years ago, and then like their dad has a heart attack. Like, I got to do something now. It's like a short-term memory. They're just saying the best day to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best day to plant a tree is today. So I mean, it's just baffling to me, the demographic. But I mean, like you said, it makes sense.
Yeah. So when we go back to, let's tie it to the sports world, you've started this entrepreneur journey and in the health journey, and you wanted to get back into sports and whatnot. How has your football days when you were in high school, and I think you even played a little bit of pro football at a certain level, how has those experiences and what you've learned on the field there really helped you excel into where you are now?
What the biggest things is watching other athletes, what they go through, right? And personally, what I had to go through at the professional level and what they're willing to go through to get to where they want to be, right? That's waking up at 4:00 in the morning, getting their food in, training, getting on the field, getting out the field. It's watching film. It's it really prepared me to prepare what passion means, right? What dedication means to something, putting your heart into something. And one big thing too is the teamwork aspect of it. When you're owning your own business and you're taking care of people, especially in health and wellness, that's a lot of responsibility, right? And for everyone I'm working with, I don't want to let them down. Just like I didn't want to let my teammates down, right? If they're doing gassers on the field after practice because we didn't do something right, I'm going to be there with them, right? This process, as we're learning it, as we're learning what preventive care means, all of those, that athletic performance and time on the field really shows itself here, because it's more of a team here. Because people are going through some real bad issues when they're seeing me. Hey, I've got Parkinson's patients. I got people with dementia. I mean, I'm working with some real severe cases here. So that teamwork and the compassion and drive, I got all that from sports. I got all that from family. I got all that from learning those kind of things. So it directly correlated to what I'm doing here.
That's awesome.
Thanks, man.
How's the youth sports world looking right now? Is there anything that you would ideally like to change in what youth sports looks like today?
We could do a whole episode on this one, man. Really what I want to see is, I want, especially these hyper into it coach parents, stop pressuring their kids into one sport, right? We're seeing an increased injury risk for people that are hyper focused on one sport. We're seeing poor developmental skills when people are doing one sport. And a really great example is, the football to basketball relationship. That lateral movement is very important in basketball, right? There's a lot of, vertical movement and football, and you need that motion of your hips. And you can't learn that really, and they don't really teach that in football. You learn separation in basketball. You need that in football, and vice versa. There's all these different things that we're missing from being multi-sports. And parents think that they just hyper-focus their kid's going to be a next Tom Brady. And that's not really the case. You're seeing a lot of professional athletes, especially making the big bucks, being 1 to 2 sport athletes. Julius Pepper was an amazing basketball player at North Carolina, and ended up being a stud NFL player, right? Because he had multiple sports under his belt. So for me, for changing youth sports is I really want to lower the injuries. I want kids to start having a good time, and I think that starts with us letting them expand into different sports.
One of the things that I liked seeing kind of progress over the years is flag football, especially at the younger ages. I see on social media now with football picking up, you see like a lot of youth football and sports and hitting, and it's just like some of it is tough to watch, like these 10, 11-year-old kids just like running into each other head first with poor technique. Like there's no there's no reason for that at all.
Dude, it's barbarian. It's literally barbarian. And for everyone out there, like listening, especially parents, like I would not recommend any kid getting into contact football until they're in high school. Learn the fundamentals, learn what a route is, learn how to work with a team. It's barbaric to watch these little kids just smash into each other. And again, with CTE being rampant, we've got to protect those brains as best we can.
Yeah, I think we've come a long way, though. I was watching the Dallas Cowboys documentary the other day, and like it was like about their early 90s dynasty. Like, man, football looked different. And I think Troy Aikman like got a serious hit, had a concussion. It was like there was no thought of me coming out. Like it wasn't even a thought. So I think we have come a long way. But it's like the youth sports, maybe not, especially if you don't have great coaching.
Well, I think like you said, like there's a huge rise in flag football, which is in a good way taken away a little bit from youth tackle. And there's a ton more options. And coming back to like the thing, I was watching that documentary too. It's wild. But to get back to that, where how things have changed. What's changed is we're more conscious about it, right? The documentaries have happened. Their kids are at risk. Flag football is becoming more popular, and that's why I feel like what I'm doing is so important. Is like just making people conscious of these things. And what's changed is we've learned. Right, that's what we hopefully do over time is learn and try to perfect things. So that conscious idea there it's there. But it's just not happening as fast as I think we'd like it to.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Tripp, this has been a phenomenal conversation, man. Is there anything else you want to impart our listeners on?
One huge thing, that it's never too late to get started on your health journey. It doesn't matter if you're 15, 85, you can always start improving yourself today. This is never too late.
That's right. Tripp, where can people find you at? Your website, social media? You do a great job posting about what you're involved in and what it looks like. Where can people find you at?
Thanks, man. You can find me at Through Fire Wellness Solutions across the board. Throughfire.fit is my website. You could email at trip@throughfire.fit as well. And then my podcast is Health or High Water. You can find that anywhere podcasts are at as well.
Awesome. And I think you got a book too out there somewhere. Is that right?
I do. It's called Health Profiling. It's on Amazon. It's not a bestseller here. I literally got my royalty check for August, and it was a whole $5.
Hey, that's more than most, man.
Listen, dude, that bought me a pre-workout for the day. I was really stoked.
There you go. That's more than most. Folks, go check it out. Post a lot of great stuff. A lot of great content. Really an expert when it comes to this type of stuff. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the Fan Day Nation so you don't miss out on future episodes. That's it for this, and we'll see you next time.